I have not been this excited for a video in a while. Actually, I'm excited for every single video, but this one's just really like the level of excitement has been elevated just a little bit. Hey guys, it's Lyric. Welcome back to another video. Today's video is a dedicated reading vlog. I do weekly reading vlogs, sometimes themed reading vlogs, but this one is fully dedicated to one book. What is that book? You maybe know, you're not wondering that because it was like plastered on the thumbnail. Today we're going to be reading Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Guys, this has kind of been a journey. Let me explain. I was asking y'all on TikTok, I was like, should I read Divine Rivals or Once Upon a Broken Heart? And you guys are saying both of them are really good. A lot of y'all were, however, saying Once Upon a Broken Heart because I think it's a little more well-known than Divine Rivals. So I was like, okay, yeah, Once Upon a Broken Heart. And then I scrolled a little more and a few people were like, Once Upon a Broken Heart, we want you to read it, but here's the thing. I think you should read the Caraval trilogy first. And I'm the type of person, even if there's like one line in a book that comes before another one and it just makes reading the second book, it makes that experience better, I will read the whole first book before that. So when I saw that comment, I bought the whole trilogy. You guys already know my thoughts about that. I loved the Caraval trilogy. The magic within those books, it felt so real. I felt like I was a kid reading about magic and this magic was so very real. I love Julian, Dante, Legend, Tella, Scarlet. I haven't even read Once Upon a Broken Heart yet, but I would recommend reading that trilogy because I know it does give some backstory and a little bit of like a look into Jax, who is one of the main, or he is the MMC in Once Upon a Broken Heart. And the whole Caraval trilogy gives us a decent glimpse into some traits about him and things he has done in the past. While I was reading that trilogy and when Jax ended up showing up in that trilogy, this was before I even knew that Once Upon a Broken Heart had anything to do with Jax. I became obsessed with him. And I don't even know if that's like how I should have been feeling towards him during that trilogy. But I remember while I was reading Caraval, I kept thinking, I really hope Jax has a story because I'm so infatuated by him. I'm so intrigued. I really want more of him. He is such a fascinating character. I need more. Guys, this is more. This is what I was begging for and I'm so excited for it. I'm gonna read the back of this. How far would you go for happily ever after? Evangeline Fox has always believed in one true love and happy endings until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic, immortal Prince of Hearts, but she soon discovers that bargaining with the Prince of Hearts is a dangerous game. That is true. That's very true. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. I am so ready for this. I'm going to share all my thoughts, share my feelings. This is going to be spoiler free. We are not spoiling anything in this reading vlog, so if you haven't read Once Upon a Broken Heart, you're safe. You can still watch this video. Welcome to this reading vlog. You don't have to look at me right now. I just worked out and I am disgusting. But I got 18% of the way through Once Upon a Broken Heart. I started this yesterday. I got to part 2 and so I want to share some of my thoughts and stuff before I keep reading. First off, this is such an easy read. I'm a little scared. Tell me how I have read 77 pages and I feel like I've read this book for maybe 20 minutes. Like I've definitely read it more than that, but I don't know. I am able to read it so quickly. Second, I'm obsessed with Evangeline's hair. Her hair is described as rose gold. Are you kidding? Kind of like the color of the cover, like if it was shiny. I've seen some fan art. I've definitely seen fan art of Jax because while reading Caraval, like I mentioned, I became obsessed with him. He is one of the only blonde men that I read about in books that I'm like, okay. He is so charming. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned how I'm the type of person who will always read books. Like, for example, if someone says you should read this trilogy before reading this newer series, even if there are just a few tiny connections, I will still do it because I want to be reading that series to the best of its ability. Like, all the knowledge I could possibly have before heading into it. Even though I am that way, and I will typically almost always read books that come before other ones, even if it's not necessary, I would actually really highly recommend doing it for this. I would recommend reading the Caraval trilogy before Once Upon a Broken Heart, because there is a part in the beginning of Once Upon a Broken Heart and Evangeline is in this, let's call it a predicament. So she's in this predicament for a period of time and she goes into it with things in her world being a specific way, and she comes out of it with things in her world that have changed. And within the time period that she was in her predicament, that is when Caraval took place. That is when all three of those books took place. And I picked up on that and it makes so much make sense. You will understand a lot more about the fates, which are kind of like the higher beings in these books. They're supposed to be immortal for the most part. I get a little confused on that, but they're just like kind of top tier of this magic world system. However, Evangeline is just normal right now. She's always believed in magic. Her and her dad have always believed in magic, but I'm pretty sure she's fully normal right now. But yeah, once she gets out of that predicament, all of the stuff in her world that is different is a result of Caraval and that whole trilogy. Evangeline just got an invitation from the Empress of the Meridian Empire, and do you know who that Empress is? Scarlet from the Caraval trilogy. See, Scarlet and Tella just invited Evangeline to kind of represent the Meridian Empire at this ball. So Evangeline is about to go out there, but both of those sisters that invited her are both of the main characters in Caraval. It's just connecting. It's making things make sense. That's why I would highly recommend Caraval trilogy before reading this, because it's gonna be better. You're going to see some of Jack's backstory and see everything that happened after he first had his encounter with Evangeline. Highly recommend. I think I had one more thing I wanted to mention. We've only gotten a tiny bit of Jax at the very beginning of the book. Something about the way Stephanie Garber has written Jax is so enchanting. Like, I don't know how she does it. The way the main character in her books, whoever it is, whenever they're talking about Jax, the way they describe him makes me feel I'm sure I feel exactly how they feel. And they always say he's charming, but you can tell he's trouble, but you're pulled to him at the same time. But while being pulled to him, you know you're gonna make a bad decision if you're in contact with him, but you can't stop. It is so interesting how he's described. He's just so cool. But that's all I have to say for now. I have officially gotten to part 2, and like I mentioned, I'm 18% of the way through, but I'm loving it. Things are just getting set up right now, but I feel like it's gonna get really good. But I will update you guys later with more thoughts. Last time I updated you guys, we had just finished part 1, and that was only about 18%, and I just finished reading part 2 today. So where we left off in the story was Evangeline and Marisol. I'm not sure how to say her stepsister's name. They went to the north finally because, like I mentioned at the beginning, Scarlet and Tella invited them to kind of attend this ball party thing in the north. Yeah, so Evangeline and her stepsister are attending Noct Never Ending, and that is taking place up in the north, and they're representing the Meridian Empire, which is where Scarlet and Tella rule. and stuff where they live. So part 2 starts off with them finally like getting into this new area, this new world. While they're there, obviously Evangeline is like, I don't want to see Jax. She's trying to avoid him. Long story short, he ends up showing up and things start getting interesting. And the thing about Jax right now is that he, especially during Caraval, he's a fate, and fates are always making deals that seem good for the person that's agreeing to make a deal with the fate. So the fates will always make it sound a certain way, make it seem like they're getting what they want. Sometimes the person may get what they want, but it always comes with consequences, and the fates are so smart at the way they word things and phrase things, to the point where the deals almost always end up hurting the person who made it because the fates just outsmart them. That's kind of the situation with Evangeline. She's gotten roped into this thing and she's just kind of like playing the part because she doesn't have the choice. If she doesn't do what Jax has told her to do, she's gonna die. So she just has to roll with it even if she hates it and disagrees with it. Jax is just so, like, obviously he's a Prince of Hearts, but this man does not like have a heart. I am like anticipating when he gets to the point where we get some real emotions, because this guy is always so stone cold. Like, he doesn't really care about the well-being of anyone. But I do have to say, I'm really looking forward to figuring out his game plan here, because Jax is always thinking super far in advance and there's always a much bigger picture. Actually, a lot of the fates, I think, they think like that, but I want to figure out why he's having Evangeline do the things she's doing. There's got to be a bigger picture and I want to figure it out. I also want to know how he ends up falling in love. Like, does he even fall in love, and how? And like, I still love him. What does that say about me? I love Jax, but he's a narcissist right now. He doesn't have a heart and he doesn't really care for other people. And I'm over here like, yes, yes. So that's a problem. But I need to complain real quick. Why is Evangeline so stupid? I love her, but she just, something's moving a little bit slower up here. It's like she sees a trap, she thinks about how that trap could work against her, and then she walks herself into the trap. Honey, what are we not getting? There have been some moments in here where I'm like, okay, yeah, you're talking that through. That makes sense, girl. That's right. So let's come up with a game plan to not do that. And then the next page, she's literally doing what she said she shouldn't. She's just really gullible, and I hope we get some character development. Even in the next book, maybe she just improves up here, because it is a little frustrating sometimes. I'm like, come on, girly, let's not make that decision. Besides that, I'm really liking the book. I really am. I'm on part 3 now, and I just know everything's gonna go down here, and I really want Jack's character development. Also, Stephanie Garber is doing it again with the magic. It feels so real when people are talking about it. It is so easy to understand. There's like no question in my head if this magic is real, and I mentioned that in Caraval when I was reading that whole trilogy. Something about the way Stephanie Garber writes magic, it feels so real, and it doesn't feel like something I have to think hard of to make it come to life up here. It just appears. Those are my thoughts so far on part 2. I will not be spoiling things, but I am trying to like share my thoughts on as much as I can without messing it up for you guys. I will see you guys maybe when I'm done with the book. Part 3 is the last part, so we'll see. But I will see you guys later. I actually finished Once Upon a Broken Heart weeks ago, and I forgot to film the review for it. I still want to give you guys a little conclusion because I'm not just gonna leave you guessing. I ended up rating Once Upon a Broken Heart 4.25 stars. It was really good. The storyline and everything was great. I do, however, think that if I didn't read Caraval, I would have ended up rating this probably 4 stars, not any higher, because knowing what I know about Caraval, it just kind of makes the story better. You have a little more insight on things that take place in here and the actions of specific people if you've read Caraval already, but I still absolutely loved it, and I'm really excited to read the next one. I'm definitely gonna read it. Don't know when, because Iron Flame came out today. Not reading the second one today, but yeah, I still really enjoyed it, and Stephanie Garber and the way she writes magic, it's so good. And I've already described it like this before, but it's still the same idea. When you're a kid and you watch shows or movies and they have magic in them, that feeling you get watching those shows or reading books, that's what I feel reading Stephanie Garber books that have magic in them. So good. And Jax, it's like I love him, but I shouldn't. But I'm preying on the character development because I just have so much hope. I need him to be better. So yeah, 4.25 stars for Once Upon a Broken Heart. Definitely got things set up, and I can tell by the way everything's laid out. The second one, The Ballad of Never After, has a very high chance of being a book that I absolutely love, and I'm super, super excited for that. That is all for this little reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to follow me on my TikTok and my Instagram. I post a bunch of book content over there as well. And yeah, I love y'all so much. I will see you in my next video. I'm going to read Iron Flame. Bye.